you need to create marketplaces where the two are connected. And on top of that, you've got a whole ecosystem where you use those tokens or whatever stable currency you have and the value that you have. You can integrate that, swap it to different coins, and keep on using that in the same digital ecosystem. All of a sudden, we pop up so much value in this world, in this space, where it's more efficient. Bull markets are super fun, but are just like, I need a break.
Yeah.
As for you, it's also like, now it starts to take off.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole different view than from our side. Like, I've got the social media, the companies, the investments. It's all just portfolios that we need to manage. But in your case, it's just getting more Web2 and Web3 companies plugging into Alkimi while more people are also getting in there as a retail investor or user of the platform.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just going in that exponential curve.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
I think, I stopped drinking 418 days ago, so that helped.
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's a long time now. That was a big help. I think you get used to it. Like, I think we've been quite fortunate. I mean, obviously, people that launch a crypto company want to get to $2 billion market cap yesterday, and some do that. And I think, but then you don't get any time to learn.
Yeah.
The difference between like $100,000 market cap and a $2 billion market cap is obviously substantial.
Yeah.
But just like, you don't realize all of the things that, like, even just like the security of your treasury at that level becomes like an intense thing, and then like, what do you do with the treasury, and like, how do you motivate yourself to like continue to build if you just I've got $100 million, like, that's cool, man. Like,
you can just go away and just like
beaches are quite fun, like, so I think where we've had to work, I'm not saying that people don't work hard for it, but like where the market cap has like slowly grown as the business has grown, it just feels like that's how it should be done. It's kind of reflecting the progress of the business, that seems more traditional in that sense. And then people don't get wild expectations, and there's an analogy that my dad always says. It's like you chuck a frog in water and you slowly heat it and it won't hop out, but if you chuck it in boiling water, it like bounces out. And I think that can be what happens if it just hockey sticks straight away. It's like, fuck, it's hot in here. I don't know how to handle it. But where it's like got hotter, you like, okay, I can figure it out, like, we've got this process in place, and we've like rolled out, we use OKRs. So like that, the first time we did it was a total shit show. And now like we're planning them at the moment for the next year. And it's like, it's more considered and more people know how to do it. And it's more data driven, and just like, you just kind of grow up, I think, and you just get used to responsibility. And as long as one of the things I always joke about is like, you don't want to, it's quite high, you're just like, okay, we're going there and I'm going to concentrate on here and just keep checking if we're going that direction or not. And I don't really look over to see how high we've got, because you spook yourself out.
Is it also like it just coming down to just avoid distractions and keep the focus? As in,
yeah, we certainly made those mistakes.
Are you also like, you will see other projects going skyrocket out of nowhere?
Yeah.
How does that feel for?
It's annoying sometimes. Like the meme coins wow me out.
Same. Like if someone just passes me from an investment perspective, and you're like, you're a utility coins.
Yeah, it's like, damn it. But I think
it's such a risky business anyway. So
I think I'm not the first person to say this, but it's like, you can't just pick one thing that you want from a project or a person's life. It's like, okay, if you're going to be in that person's shoes, you've got to be in all of their shoes for everything. You can't just be like, I wish our market cap was $5 billion and that's all I take from that project. It's like, you don't know what's going on behind the hood. You don't know if their team gets on well. You don't know what investors they've got to deal with. You just don't know what you don't know. It's like, don't get me wrong, it's a scoreboard.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you're like, and you only look up the scoreboard. You never look down the scoreboard. So you're like, and then you go to the top and you're like, oh yeah, Bitcoin's $1 trillion. It's like, that's going to be tough to knock them off the top spot, you know? So like, I don't know. I think
it's also just completely irrelevant.
Yeah, that's true. It's a scoreboard. That's it, really.
Yeah. So I've been also going through this phase of like having everything, then basically nothing, and seeing all my friends just partying and doing great stuff. And I was like, feeling some sort of jealousy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, currently, it's just about are you doing stuff that you really like?
Yeah, exactly.
And to be honest, some of my friends that are also KOL in the space, I just feel like that they are likely waking up and doing stuff to just make money.
Yeah.
Instead of really thinking deeply to see where and what can we do. Where for me personally, I just love what I'm building.
Yeah.
It's quite intense, but we have a very positive impact. The other day we had a client that has been bringing some small gifts for the service that we provided. Like the smaller things that make an impact, not the bill that he's paying. Yeah, of course, it helps building the company and changing like your living standard and all those things. But the actual joy and the memories you keep are the ones that are provided through those gifts. So I think it's the other way around. And I think that is also... that's taking place on the KOL level.
Yeah.
It's taking place through projects building something for the longer distance or the next decade.
Yeah.
And that's just a transition where we're going through. And I think that over the next few years, this is continuing to change.
I think so, yeah. Because you probably saw it, but what was his name? Murad at Token 2049 when he talked about the meme supercycle. And like I agreed with it, and I was like, hey, I kind of get what you're saying, but then when you look at what happened on Pump.fun 2 weeks ago, it's like that felt quite toppy for me. Do you know what I mean? It's like it was literally like there was a TV show called Black Mirror, and there's an episode in that where like it's this dystopian future where people are like locked in a room and they earn points, and then they go on like a talent show, and then they get like released from their room. And I was like, that feels like exactly what happened on Pump.fun. You know, like
I've seen the weirdest stuff.
Yeah,
actually that little kiddo that did the rock pool while on stream. Yeah, and the aftermath of doing that was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things though, because like if he hadn't have done that, it would never have got to the market cap it got to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it only happened. And I mean, how old was he? 15? He made 30 grand?
Even less, I think.
Yeah, does it, like, can you imagine? Like, he's just like, I'm not going to do Twitch tonight, I'm going to do this Pump.fun thing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I've just made 30 grand. I think, like, aged 14, you're like, that has got to be all the money in the entire world. Where it's like, he went out and, like, bought 20 million FIFA points, and he just got a team full of Erling Haalands, you know what I mean? And all his friends are just like, how do you do that? And he's like, well, I'm this guy, you know? Like...
That's actually like that's also crypto, but I think that it's the flip side.
Yeah.
And also, it's just sometimes it's quite annoying. Like the other day, we had a project that we really felt like they had such a good use case, but then one of the team members was going into their tokenomics, and they had a straight unlock for the team at TGE.
Really?
The liquidity wasn't really aligned with the amount of unlocks, and we were like, that's not good, my man.
Yeah.
So we decided not to invest in it, and basically after the TG it went down 70% in a week.
Really?
And that
it's
like
a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just like, it's not like you don't know how to do it. Just like wait it out.
Certainly. It's what you would typically do in like a regular startup, right? Like you don't...
Yeah, if you're a Web2 founder, you're not going to get paid on your stocks at the actual opening day.
Absolutely not. No, like
You're like full in debt.
Yeah, you probably won't even get paid at all, you know, for like...
if you're lucky.
Yeah, like we didn't pay ourselves for 18 months, you know, and that we eventually did. Bills to pay, but I was like, I just don't want to... I just thought I still am. There's no part of me that doubts that we won't be able to deliver it. Like, I just don't... The thought of this not working out doesn't enter my mind. I'm just convinced that what we have is a good solution, and it's now being verified by people in the market. You know, like we were even just talking on Tuesday. Charlie and I were talking about the way, and this is like quite niche, but it's quite cool. Like the way that because the cost of infrastructure is so expensive, right? So like demand side platforms will pretty arbitrarily like filter the amount of traffic that can come through from someone that's selling ads, so they don't get like the full hose, because otherwise they're carrying the cost of listening to all those queries and requests for bids. But as far as I'm aware, you don't really send, if you're a demand side platform, you don't really send what you're willing to bid back to the sellers, but that's how an order book works, right? It's like, okay, there's buyers at these prices and there's sellers at these prices, and there's a price in between where the market kind of finds its value. And
through the information that they can get.
But what happens in ad tech is there's an auction that's hosted on the page every time it loads. So like, rather than there being like, it's almost counterintuitive as a decentralized exchange, but like one place where this all happens, it's happening on every single page load at the edge, and then it's being sent, and they're like, do you want to buy this? Whereas it really should be, here's what I'm selling, and like, here's what I'm prepared to pay for it, in the way that like a stock market works, right? And you can like fill more of the impressions that have value, and then you can buy more of the impressions that have value, and you can just share a bit more what's going on. It goes from being like, I'm reducing the traffic to this amount, and then I'll see what's in that amount. And it will still happen because some bids and some requests aren't eligible, right? Like if the traffic's from a bot, so it's like not valid traffic, it's not a human being, you don't want to buy that as an advertiser for obvious reasons, or it's on a website that's spoofing a URL. So that can happen quite a lot. Like you don't want to waste your money on that. There's this whole notion of made for advertising websites where it's just people are writing an article with like 2 words in it and like 50 ad units, and they're trying to just like farm exchanges for money. And obviously you don't want to do it. It's a waste of money if you're using websites like that. But then I always think every website's made for advertising, because that's the way it's funded. It's just like people are taking it too far, and other people are maybe being contrite. But if there was just like more of this fair value between the two, and it's like, and that's the point I was making, it's like, I think that'll work. And then I ask a few people that I know that are experts, like that's quite interesting. And then you think about how you buy it, but okay, that would be interesting for buyers. And it's like, well, and then I get to go like try and figure out how to build that thing. It's like, that is a pretty sweet position to be in. So that's why I'm like, it's going to work out.
I think it's in the current situation, the middleman is making the money.
Oh yeah, it's big time.
Like take the real estate markets.
Yeah.
The one selling you the property is making money on both sides. Big, enormous amounts of money.
Yeah.
And it's the same with ads. Like it's just the selling party and the buying party just don't know the actual information that they need to have to make the actual decisions. Usually 1 or 2 proposals or whatever. I'm not an expert, but you don't have all the proposals or all the sellers.
Yeah.
And you don't know all the amount of buying that you can get. And that itself creates a spread between the two.
Yeah, exactly right.
And the middleman is just taking that cut. And currently, and you mentioned AgriDex, but also Alkimi, you need to create marketplaces where the two are connected, and the one being more smart is the actual one making the money.
Yeah, totally.
And then if you create that, and on top of that, you've got a whole ecosystem where you use those tokens or whatever stable currency you have and the value that you have, you can integrate that, swap it to different coins, and keep on using that in the same digital ecosystem. Keep on having value, adding collateral, whatever you want. If we have that all of a sudden we pop up a lot, like so much value in this world, in this space where it's more efficient.
Yeah. And you're sharing it with people that create value rather than people that just want to take value out, you know, and I think that it's like a better way for markets to work. Like it's more like bartering. You know what I mean? That's how markets used to exist, but then you get a better mechanism, but we won't go down the whole history of money route. But it just seems to be logical where you should have to add some value before you just start taking value out. And that should be, in my opinion, more than just a different kind of ad format or a different way of targeting that may or may not have an impact on the overall performance. I think just fundamentally what we think is if you remove the fees from buying ads online,
basically the middleman,
how much more efficient will it be?
Yeah.
And let's see. We're starting to see in some of the results that we've had from campaigns, it can be like big sums of money. Like it's the first campaign that we ever ran was with IPG and AWS. They took a bit of a gamble on us and tested us out, and we were £5 cheaper for the same inventory. So per 1,000 ads, it was £5 difference. It was like £7 and 9 pence, and we were £2.21.
If you talk about percentages, it's
a chunk. If you kind of percentage it up, it's like you get 212% more media with us.
Yeah, exactly.
And then and because you're showing more ads to more people, you're more likely to find the people that are interested in your ads, and the campaign performance was 19% better than the Web2.
So both ways, you are just like...
It's just the capital has become more efficient, right?
Yeah.
And then like the outcomes of that, which are the results of the campaign or the revenue that you're earning, just improve because more money's being spent on what it is that you want to spend it on. You know, like it's a very benign example to give is like if you're filling your car up with petrol or electricity and 43% of it doesn't go in, but you're paying for it. You know, I've run out of petrol again before I got home. Like, what's happened? And it's like, well, you didn't get what you paid for. I think very simply that's what we're saying is that you can prove on our ledger you got what you paid for, and because there's a ledger, there's loads of benefits to infrastructure, which is distributed cost. You pass those savings on, and just the whole thing kind of just ties up quite nicely together. And yeah, it's starting to work, I think.
Yeah.
Is the cool part. I think, Michael, we could probably talk for hours and hours and hours.
We are talking for an hour already.
We are?
Point. Yeah.
Okay, well, that. How about we round it up? What's your like most out there prediction for the next 6 to 12 months? Like, get bullish on me.
I mean, I keep on saying that we are still in the bear market PTSD period.
Okay, yeah, fine.
We're at the start of the bull. And I think that we are going to have a cycle that's comparable to 2017.
Okay, yeah. Percentage-wise, you think? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, 2017 attracted a whole new group of investors through retail and just enabling ICOs and all those things. 2021 was the VC cycle.
Yeah.
And now we have institutional investors, BlackRock having a tokenization fund. We have government stepping in.
Yeah.
So on all levels, it's the big cycle.
Yeah, okay, it makes sense, yeah.
So I'm in debate with myself of whether we're going to peak next year. It requires more money to actually move Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So it's going to be harder at some point too. But I think that if we talk about this cycle and how high we can go, I think you should be comparing it to the dot-com bubble.
Yeah, okay.
And in that sense, the dot-com bubble was between 10 to 15 trillion back in the day. If you fast forward it to now, it's 30 to 35 trillion through inflation.
Christ, yeah.
So if you have that, and then the current market cap is like, what is it, 3.5, then I think that it's not strange to say that Bitcoin should have been going through 100K previous cycle. It's doing it right now.
Yeah.
But then it's probably going to go higher, which I think is going to be around 500,000 to 600K.
Okay.
That's generally what I expect it to go to.
Yeah.
And also I expect it to go into that phase in a longer period, more liquidity driven. So we erase the 4-year cycle.
Yeah.
And then have a longer bear market comparable to the dot-com bubble as well.
Okay, yeah.
And from there we get the actual adoption taking place. So that's generally how I feel like these markets are going to go moving forward. I hope Bitcoin is going to stagnate for a little bit. And I think we have not seen yet what Ethereum is going to do.
I agree with that, yeah.
If Ethereum can even double against Bitcoin for a certain period of time, and we know that Bitcoin can triple or do a 5x, in terms of price, then we know where Ethereum is going to go to. But in terms of fundamental growth, there is an actual reason why BlackRock is investing hundreds of millions into Ethereum dApps and not in Solana.
Yeah.
So that money is going to pour out at some point because the best teams are building on ETH.
Yeah.
So we've not seen anything yet. It's just about to be unlocked.
I think I agree with you. It's Ethereum. Solana's great for various reasons, right?
It is. It has a different purpose.
Yeah, Ethereum it seems to be where the sensible stuff is being built. You know, like stable coins are built on Ethereum.
DeFi is built on Ethereum.
DeFi is built on Ethereum. And you hear about banks that are using Ethereum for their rails, for their private blockchains that they're using. It's like
governments even.
You don't quite hear that yet for Solana. No, that's not to say it wouldn't happen, but I totally agree with you.
I think it would happen at some point for Solana.
It's just a bit younger. It's
and
4 years
like,
younger.
ETH just had its issues like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And Solana is just really experiencing its first cycle. Just like Avalanche and Near and all those other layer ones that have been having their issues in the previous cycle. And now they all pivot towards one vertical. For instance, ETH is just the layer one out there.
Yeah.
You've got Solana for high throughput. You've got Peak, for instance, for deep in. You've got Near that has its own purpose. You've got AVAX. So they all have like their own niche and they're connected to each other.
Yeah.
And probably in a year of like 5 years from now, we will be seeing or hearing layer ones taking over other layer ones.
Yeah.
Layer ones building on top of Ether or connecting, or it's just how it goes. But I think that Ether is by far the most undervalued one there.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not even at its all-time high, is it? So
No.
It's got a long way to go.
Against Bitcoin, it's at the cycle low still.
Yeah, so, well, that'll be fun. But Michael, thank you. Thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you for being here.
I'll have to host you in London the next time you're over. And it gives us a chance to improve our set slightly because I've got a bit of envy about how good it looks in here. But thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I'll
Cheers.
see you again.
Yes,
Cheers.
definitely. If you enjoyed that episode, there's many more on our YouTube channel, on our Spotify and Apple podcasts. So make sure you don't miss the next episode. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so you can hear the next great conversation we have with our next guest.